Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Jackson, the founder of the BWW, and I'm here today to have another author interview. I am always excited to talk to our authors because they bring so much to the table for us. These are people who have dedicated their time, their energies into writing a book, and writing a book is not easy. And so we like to bring them on. These are members of our page, members of our community, and we like to talk to them about their work, talk to them about what inspired the work and what's next for them. So today we're going to talk to Latoya Washington. She's here from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. She just published her book, and we're going to talk with her about that. But right now, we're going to invite her to the screen, and then I have some housekeeping rules for everyone. Hi, Latoya. How you doing?
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I am great. I am great. It's so good to have you here with us. It's so good to be talking to another writer. We are going to get into a really deep conversation about your book, Broken Vessels, Letters of Abba. And we're going to talk about what's in this book, not just the words, but your heart. How much of you did you put into this book? But before we do that, I want to do a couple of things. One, I would like to invite everyone to join us on the Black Writers Workspace private group. Become a member of the group so that you can learn about these amazing authors and these interviews. In addition to all the other things that we do virtual book fairs. We have a monthly pen posse roundtable. We do weekly newsletters. We do a host of different things. Two, I would love for everyone to stop where you are right now and to share this on your personal page so that Latoya and I can have a conversation that is well viewed, as well as give everybody an opportunity to ask questions. And you can do that by putting your questions in our comment area or in the chat box. So please, please do that. So now, Latoya, let's talk about your book. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your book, what inspired you, and just literally dump us onto page one of this book and help us to understand what you were going through, why you chose to write it, and what you're hoping the readers will learn from it.
Well, I am Latoya Washington. Everyone, peace and blessings to you all. I was born and raised in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I did spend 1 year in Port St. Joe, Florida, where my mother's side of the family is from, and married to my lovely, lovely husband, David Washington, who I just love dearly. That's my sweetheart. And this book, it's just so much to unpack. That was an impactful question. But I'll say that this book has truly been my heart poured out onto the pages. I mean, many of the things that were written in poems, of course, some of the words are like metaphors for what I was feeling at that time. But it helped me through. It was my way, some people may go to therapy. It's my way by writing these things to the Lord that helped me through those tough times. I was going through depression. Some of the poems were written when I was in my first marriage and was going through divorce. Um, been through emotionally as well as physically abusive relationships. Um, and to be honest with you, it was some of the decisions that I made out of a lack of knowledge or a lack of understanding or rebellion. I wanted to do my thing, young girl, and just wanted to do my own thing. Um, I'll say I was raised in the church. My grandmother is a pastor. My grandfather is a co-pastor. My mother serves in the church, and so we grew up just church. But I felt like I was always different. I felt like I didn't fit into the frame that a lot of people fit into. So it kind of always felt like I was a little misunderstood or different. I had a hard time fitting in the church. I had a hard time fitting in the world. So I just felt like I didn't fit nowhere. So some of the things that I did was just kind of like trying to figure out who I was and trying to be accepted. And so it was just a lot that this book helped me through those feelings. And I hopefully I'm not the only person who's felt that way. So this book was written to those people who feel that way.
It's funny you said what you said because last Saturday, on the Pen Posse Roundtable, we talked about writing through the pain. And it was a very tough conversation to have amongst writers. So many of us write because of the pain that we're experiencing. And it's our way of just putting it out into the world. And it's therapeutic. It helps us to move through it. So, what is it that your book, what do you feel like you left the readers with that's going to be life changing for them? I know the book was life changing for you, but do have you heard from your readers about what they took from it that was life changing for them?
Yes, my mom, who is like, shout out to Vita Bonner. My mom is like me and my husband's biggest like promoter type of thing. And so she had this young lady who I didn't even know her, and she asked if she can get a copy of the book, and I said okay. So gave her a copy of the book, and a couple months later, the woman gave my mom this card, and she was writing words in there that came at the right time, because she was saying that I now have a deeper relationship with the Lord. I thought that I just was by myself with things, and I'm looking at things differently. I'm praying again, So to see that in that card, it was encouragement to me, as well, to know that she was encouraged by my heart being shared in this book. It was just, I keep that card in my pocketbook,
Hmm.
because no matter if someone buys it or not, to know that it touched someone, because that's what it was all about. It was all about whose heart's going to be touched by the Father's love, like how my heart was touched by the Father's love. And so that right there helps me keep pushing and keep pressing through. No matter how many books are sold, that keeps me pressing through. Yeah.
Absolutely. And just know this as a writer, we're all in the strange gang. So don't you worry about it. I think we all at some point feel a little strange. I had someone tell me, and I could call this person my bully in school. She really wasn't, but she was always saying things to me when I was in high school. She said to me, "You live in your head." And I was like, where did that come from? But she was right.
Hmm.
I do.
Hmm.
I do. There's like a little world inside of my head, and that's where I dwell in many ways. And the
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
gives me an opportunity to connect my real world with that world. And
Hmm.
so don't ever worry about being feeling a little strange because we're all in the
Hmm.
strange gang. But I tell you,
Yeah.
there is a poem at the very beginning of your book. Do you have your book in front of you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. You
Okay.
mind reading some of that poem for me? Because I want the people here who are watching, and we're getting comments in from Veronica Dixon,
Oh, that's my
who's
pastor. Praise
okay.
God.
Hey, Veronica. But we really appreciate the comments. You guys continue to do that. But we want to understand where you were when you wrote it, because the key to being a writer is getting that strength, that courage, to put it out there. And
Hmm.
it's a
Hmm.
hard decision to expose what you're really going through. So when I read that poem, I really loved it. So I want you to read. You don't have to read all of it if you don't want to, but give us a little taste of it.
Okay. Can I give a little backdrop to why I
Yes,
wrote that?
absolutely.
So, "Quit Girl" is the first poem, and that was because someone had told me that I was beginning to sing with a young gospel artist, and in the area, and someone had said to me, um, "That's too big for you," or "That's you those pants are too big for you," and I
Hmm.
was like, "You should give up on that."
Mm.
And when you said about getting in your head, immediately I went into my head, but the Holy Spirit, I had to put my heart, my love for the Lord ahead of my own thoughts. And so I literally was like, um, they told me to quit, girl. Just give up on this dream, girl. You aren't built for this stage, girl. This here is too big for your britches, girl. These shoes are too big for your feet, girl. You are not qualified for this thing, girl. You are not experienced for this stage, girl. And you are not ready for this thing, girl. But hearing the whispers of the naysayers, I still go. The Holy Spirit says go. Because my mind wanted me, after I heard those words that were negative, my mind immediately, I went into my head, like you said, went into my head and said, maybe I'm not supposed to do this, or maybe I'm not supposed to go. And immediately the Holy Spirit that lives within us, right, just was like, go. And then that's when the words just started flowing and just flowing.
Mhm.
And it was called Quit Girl, and I've never been a person that quits. So when I heard those words, I knew it wasn't from God. So I had
Mhm.
to check it immediately. I had to check that fruit, that seed that was trying to be deposited, that was not of God, and check it immediately and
Mhm.
say, I'm going to go. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. So that's
That's
where that poem was written from.
I loved it, and I love hearing you read it. I think that's going to be our message for today. Go, because as readers, I mean, as writers, there's so many there's so many red flags and so many stop signs on this path because many of us are writing and we're the only person in our circle who's doing so. And it sounds
Mhm.
like you're singing too. So now you've got a whole nother craft. Are you a singer as well?
Yes, yes. I worship the Lord. I worship the Lord. My heart is a worshiper, but I do sing as a praise and worship leader at the church and my church where I serve. And so my heart does. It's like a song sometimes. So even though it's poetry, it does feel like a song sometimes to myself as well as to the Lord. Yes.
It is absolutely. And so, and just as I was saying, it's so hard being in this space of creativity because there aren't always people around you who understand what you're going through and that understand the emotions and the commitments that you have to make to yourself when you make a decision to write. I mean, you're putting yourself on paper and it will live forever. And
Yeah.
that's a big decision to make. And if you aren't comfortable in your own shoes, you can't make that decision. So when we decide to write, I always say we sign a subconscious contract with ourselves to expose ourselves and to
Yeah.
be comfortable with what happens when people don't like it. Or, because you get readers, they don't like it, or somebody got something to say, or I found a misspelled word or something like that. And it can crush you. And then you go, you know what? But I went because Latoya
Amen.
told me to go. So right. So I
Glory to
love that.
God.
So
Amen.
this is such a great thing. Veronica has posted so many comments, but I want to make sure I get down these comments because I'm loving her. And anybody else out there, if you want to post, please add your comments, add questions. Veronica said, she said right through the point pain. We was talking about that. She said, Amen. God is so good, which He is. Mine was touched, and she was talking about your book. I'm thankful for your awesome book. This is what she said. She said, beautiful ladies. Thank you so much, Veronica.
I,
And I think, it's people like Veronica who supports us that makes this possible. So
mhm.
let's talk about the publishing and the marketing. And no, let's go back. First and foremost, your book starts with poetry, but then it ends with you. Well, towards the end, you began to give short stories. Tell us about those short stories, where they came from, and why did you decide to write poetry and short stories in one literary work?
Well, I know my publisher, Gospel for You Publishing, and Dr. Joanna Burchett. We were just going through the editing process and whatnot, and there was some more pages and stuff that was needed. But I've always been a writer, so it was crazy because I had so many writings already available, and so I was kind of hesitant about sharing the additional writings because I knew it was even more of me being revealed to people that I don't know. So I said, okay, I even prayed before I released it. I said, okay, Lord, this is like my baby. So I'm just going to release this. And I'm so grateful for her for just helping me through the process and her whole team. Um, since this was my first book. Went and this one of the my favorite stories in here is stop trying to prove who you are and just be.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful that God took me through that season already before the book even was thought about to be published. Because you're right, if you're pouring your heart out to someone and they critique it, it kind of can cause you to go into your shell and you don't want to share it and you kind of get nervous and stuff. But I'm glad he had me go through that process so that no matter what people say or no matter what they think, this is just me, and not everybody's going to embrace it, but I'm accepted by the Father. So those short stories, I'm praying, are a blessing to people who've gone through that, where they're literally looking for acceptance and searching for acceptance through all kinds of things. But acceptance only comes through God,
Mhm.
and I had to learn that. I really had to learn that. I was looking for acceptance with everything, and affirmation from people when only God can give it. Only God
Mhm.
can give it.
Veronica wanted to know which poem seemed to be the hardest for you to write.
The hardest to write might have been, um, hmm, oh, that's tough. Might be why. So I have this poem in the book called Why, because I'm trying to figure out, why does God love me so much? Why does he
Mm,
love us so much that, I'm so flawed? And, at a point in my life before, I used to always think about the negative things about me and not the positive things. God is shifting that and I'm still growing. But I used to always think about the negatives. And I remember one day just sitting there and I'm just like, why you love me so? Like really asking him, why does he love me? And in the book of Psalms, book of Psalms, chapter 8, it talks about, who is man that thou art mindful of him? And I'm just like, yeah, why do you love me? Why are you mindful of me? You're God. You could be doing any and everything else, but you're taking the time to just like talk to me, and that's one poem that I would say is kind of tough. Now talking about this one, I think the hardest poem was The Process. And that's also one of my favorite poems, is The Process. Because that was a poem where it was about God reshaping and God crushing. And I think that's the part of our faith that many people don't like to go through, is the crushing and the purifying and refining. So that was definitely one of the toughest parts because it was the process and I'm still going through it. So it hasn't stopped, but it was just knowing that he's on my side through that. So those two poems
oh,
were tough.
I love that. Writing poetry is tough too. I mean, in a whole. I mean, as a whole, I love your form and your the way you take on your wording was really good. I've written some poetry in my life. I typically never ever share it with anyone, but lately I've been doing a little bit more of that, sharing it, and so that's beautiful. My first book was Christian fiction, and I love the process of writing about my faith. I also write for a Christian magazine, actually the Mount magazine in Pittsburgh. Wrote for it. I've been writing for 5 years, and so I just enjoy the opportunity. I'm not a theologian, but I love the opportunity to talk about how my faith has impacted my life and to kind of keep it, real for the laymen who are just going through tough times and not sure where to start, like I have, so many times in my own life. So that's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about your book, The Publishing and the Marketing. You actually published your book in July of 2020, in the
Yeah.
midst of COVID. And I always ask this question because I talk to a lot of really new, first time authors. What gave you the confidence to release your book in the midst of COVID when there were so many things we could not do as writers, like go out to events and sell our books?
Mhm.
COVID has been challenging because of
Mhm.
that. But you and so many others, myself, I dropped my second book February 14th of 2020. And I mean, a month
Mhm.
later, we were, in stay at home orders. So tell me
Yeah.
about that faith walk to put your book out there in a time when you could not go out and market it as much as you probably would have been able to if COVID wasn't around. Was there a reason why you felt like we needed this book at this moment?
I would say because everybody was home, so it's the best time to like. Uh, I feel like a lot of people published books during COVID. I've never seen this many books published at one the last year in a long time. But I'll say honestly that God has richly blessed me and my husband to know people, and that's one thing that I'm glad that I'm not the same as others is I don't care who I talk to. You never know who you're entertaining. You never know who you're having a conversation with. So when I'm saying hi to someone, and just talking to them and just saying God bless you and stuff, I just never realized that that would cause people to say, hey, I want a copy. I want, how do I get the book?
Hmm.
So it wasn't intentional marketing in that aspect, but also reaching out to different people, different avenues, different groups. That's really stepping out because I'm not that type of person. I'd rather just sit back and just if it sells, it sells, and But this really took me getting out of my comfort zone for this book because it is my baby. And so if it's your child, you do whatever for your child, right? I don't have
Hmm.
physical children, but I know spiritually this was my child, so I wanted to protect it. I wanted to make sure I was nourishing it according to how God wanted me to nourish it. So it would only be certain people I would work with. I was being very particular about that. Also stretching out and doing little videos. I did little promotional videos, me and my husband on our YouTube channel and stuff. And just whoever reached out, and said we would like to have you to interview, it was truly a blessing because I don't have a clue about, promoting books and whatnot. I know a little bit about promotion in general, but I just wasn't sure where to go. And so it's truly been God helping us in this process.
That's great. I mean, you and I connected on the Black Writers Workspace. I
Mhm.
created the Black Writers Workspace in March of 2020 because I was once again I just released my second book, and I just wanted to connect with writers, and I thought I would get 100 people, and we're at 3,600 now. So in less than a year. So to when you talk about the community of people who are out there releasing books, absolutely. COVID has, I think, ignited, we're at home. So we're like finishing those writing projects and people are putting their books out there. But in addition to that, I think this is a great time to be putting books out because people are looking for encouragement. And a book
Mhm.
like yours can give people the encouragement that they need. So,
Mhm.
that is wonderful that you were faithful enough to put it out there because my first book, when I released it, I did a great deal of events, trade shows, and would go out and sell it at different events. And when this happened, I just thought, I'm not going to be able to go out. What am I going to do? So, but we're finding different avenues. We're connecting, like me meeting you. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful
Mhm.
connection. I would have never met you if it wasn't for this time. And
Yes.
so that's a beautiful thing as well. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are now working on a new project, as you mentioned to me before. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I am. I'm really putting my heart into it as I talked to you before. This is more descriptive. This is more descriptive than the metaphors that are used in the poems, because I think that it is needed. The level of transparency for this day that we live in. I think
Yeah.
we need more people to keep it real and keep it honest, and just not try to sugarcoat. And really show people what has the Lord healed you from. I got plenty of scars. And I don't mind showing them. There was a time where I would be a little timid to it, but I don't mind showing my scars, especially if it's going to be a blessing to the next woman or to the next man. So, I'm really taking my time with this and kind of doing a chapter ever so often because I want it to be like kind of perfect,
Hmm. I'm sure it
because
will be.
yeah, I want it to just be every moment in that particular time, because I'm going back kind of like 10 years and a little bit further for this next project.
Well, that's great. Well, lift up your book. Let's see it. Let's see your book.
Okay.
I want everybody to go out there, Broken Vessels, letters to Abba.
Abba. Yes,
Abba.
me.
And
Yes.
we want everyone to go out and to purchase this book. And we're going to put it on the page. We're going to put it on our Instagram. We're going to put it everywhere, YouTube, and make sure that we can get people to support you. This is what we're all about. It's about supporting each other as writers, because if we don't, no one else will.
Mm-hmm.
And supporting each other as readers, because we all do I know a lot of writers are avid readers. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the beautiful thing about connecting with writers, and I say this all the time, is that some of the most insightful conversations you can ever have is with someone who's written a book, because there is a level of transparency with us, and we come to expose. We come wide open,
Amen.
because whether you're writing dark fiction, self-help, children's books, there's always a bit of you
Mm-hmm.
in the characters, in the experiences. And so when you write, you do have that, you have to be open. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a beautiful thing. Any words of encouragement for those writers out there who have not released their books, but they want to, they just need a push? Anything you want to say to them?
Yeah, I would definitely say, don't quit, don't quit, but also be patient. Some people may be writing a book or book of poems while they're working a full-time job, being mothers, being fathers, but don't quit. I'm also a wife. I work a full-time job that takes a lot of my time. So it's just making that time, to be a blessing to people. Don't rush it, but also don't quit. Embrace being your genuine self that the Lord's called you to be. You may not be the next Maya Angelou or the next James Baldwin or whatnot, but you are who God called you to be as a writer. And there's an audience out there that needs to hear your story. So just continue on in that and know that Jesus is love and he loves you and he's placed such a wonderful gift in each and every one of us.
That is excellent. So Latoya, tell us, where do we buy your book?
Yes, you can go on to Rhema Creations. That is spelled RHEMACreationz.com. You can go on there and purchase it through me personally, or you can also go through Amazon.com and purchase on Amazon. Either way, I'm just grateful for the blessing, and I pray that the book blesses you.
And I'm sure, I know it will bless everyone. You have poetry, you have short stories, but more than anything, you have Latoya's heart in this
Yeah.
work. And I really do thank you so much for coming on. I always believe, that we have to continue to talk and to encourage each other. And so, as we said, the message of this whole conversation is to go. And so all of us, we need to go out there and make our dreams come true. Write that book, sing that song, dance, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, whatever God has put in your heart, because it is very important that you make those things happen, because people are watching. Trust me.
Amen.
And you
Amen.
can be an inspiration to so many people by just fulfilling your own dreams. So, Latoya, thank you so much for being with us on the BWW. Continue to be a part of our page. You will find you will find the link to it, and I'll also send you additional links to it, and we will put a clip of it, of course, on Instagram. And for those who don't know, we do have Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, and I hope that everyone will follow us. We are at Black Writers Workspace on Instagram, and just continue to support everything that we're doing and all the people that we're connecting with. We're different because we're talking to new and independent authors. We're not all bestsellers. We're people who are trying to get there, and whether we get there or not doesn't matter, because we're doing what we love anyway.
Amen.
But it's good to know that there's so many beautiful Black writers out there. So continue to be great. Latoya, and it was so nice to
Thank
talk to you.
you. Thank you. Nice to talk to you. Thanks for having me.